Everyone, will give it a minute or two for people to join. Alrighty, welcome everyone to the July webinar. Here's what we have on the agenda today. I will talk about some advisor updates. Lauren from Nutrition Services is here to talk about summer benefits for P-EBT. I've also got a presentation on the new district contact information app that is being worked on. We also have a pre-recorded session that Naomi here recorded. This is something that we specifically give out to any people who are new in that district administrator role. So there is slides and a pre-recorded video available at anydataconference.com with that. All right, let me get started with the advisor update. So first, couple of notes on where we're at right now with 22-23. Basically, the end of year locked reports are available when you're in the advisor validation site. Those reports are not changing unless we are working with you to correct some late data. We are currently going through all the late requests that come in and any late tickets from advisor, as well as some for CDC and staff reporting. We're following up with districts to make sure data's been corrected or to clarify what's going on. We're trying to finish these up pretty soon. Absence attendance data for state aid, recalculation, Title III data, that's English learners, immigrants. That data we're trying to lock now. It's not part of the follow-up collection. We're trying to use those for other types of reporting now. So we are working on those first. Course changes, like course data, instructional unit changes. The accreditation office is still working with those, but they are still something that is able to be changed in the follow-up collection. One more reminder, it's not really part of advisor, but the Office of Civil Rights is still trying to get some district administrators to sign in to the 21-22 Civil Rights Data Collection website. We also had to help correct their list of superintendents recently. So I haven't got the list recently from the OCR, but as I mentioned in the bulletin, if you're not sure, I would recommend you check out these links. You can use the contact form to talk to them, or you can go to this community's 360 site, see if you have a login, as well as watch instructional videos. They've got all, they have a lot of help documents on this site. So if anyone here is a public district superintendent and you are not sure about that, I'd recommend you check those out. That was also in the bulletin last week, the NDE bulletin, so you can go check for that as well. All right, some updates for advisor 23-24. First, posted the calendar here on the resources site. There's really no surprises here. It's, for now anyway, the exact same dates as always. We did tweak how the assessment dates show up, just because, as you know, NSCAS growth has this test window. We've now separated these out. So like here where this says the test manager opens 8/7/2023, that's referring to the student, I'm not sure the exact name, I think it's called like the student test management system that's part of NWEA's website that should be open to you August 7th to prepare for the testing window, which runs, you know, August 21st to September 29th. Other than that, everything here is basically the same as before. I also have our data elements guide posted. As usual, we may make some tweaks to this just as we add additional guidance and things like that. But so for now, though, this represents all the major changes you're going to see in 23-24, which there's not a lot of. But the easiest way to find that out is to head down to Appendix A. And you can see here the changes in this version 8.0. That's what we're calling this 23-24 here. So let me go over some of these. This one doesn't really change anything, but just a terminology change. The federal definition through the Common Education Data Standards has now renamed digital equity to be called digital access. That doesn't really change anything about how we collect it. I'm just matching their terminology. Here's one in the English learners program records. We've removed other. So this is on the language instruction. Basically, where you're telling us what type of programs your English learner participants are taking. We just got rid of code 07 other. Our English learner specialist said there's really no good use for that. So we're not expecting anyone to really need that other code. Special education, we do have several changes, several new fields this year. So let me just start from the top. First, and this is something that a lot of student information systems already supported, but we're just making it official that Advisor supports this now. You have the ability to send multiple disability codes to us. However, a student should only have one primary disability, which for a lot of the federal reporting and everything, that primary disability is the one used to categorize the student. So I just updated that here. And we have this new field. So again, this is a field that a lot of vendors already probably supported. This just makes it official. If you're sending us multiple disabilities, there's a field connected to each one called the order. And this is just where you send us a number to tell us the primary disability. Primary disability should be marked as 1. If they have another disability, it'll be 2, 3, 4, etc. I expect most student information systems are going to do this for you. I doubt anyone here will actually be typing in that number. We do have a new field. It's a good question. Anna asked, is it required to report multiple disabilities if a student has some? I don't believe I've heard that there is a requirement for this yet. But I would have to talk with our special education office to know exactly why why we're collecting this, but to my knowledge, it's not required. The only the primary is required currently. There's a new field, and this is again something that was already part of Ed-Fi. We're just making it required now, and that's the IEP begin date. As opposed to just the begin date on a record, since a student can have multiple SPED programs in a year, the begin date is used just to tell those different records apart. So if a student has one special ed record for 6 months and then they change their setting code, you might end date that one record and then put in a new record right after it, so we can see the change between the two. So the begin date here doesn't really mean anything related to the student's special education data. It's really just used to tell apart records. Versus this, the IEP begin date, and it's called IEP begin date, but really it means either the IEP or IFSP. It's the effective date of the current IEP for the student. So typically that date changes once per year. I think all of our SPED data collection systems probably already support this field, as it's generally something you need to know anyways. So I don't expect that to be a big change for most people. And this is a new field. So this one is totally new. It will be something that needs to be added to all the student information systems. This is something that I believe is related to our ILCID, special education accountability reporting. But it is the reason a student who's reached their 3rd birthday has not transitioned into Part B out of Part C. I take it this isn't a super common occurrence, but it does happen enough that we thought we would collect it through advisor. The basic options are parent refused consent or parent chose to remain in Part C. I might see if I can dig up some additional explanations for these. If so, I will update this document. But and this also has an other. I'm not sure what the other would be. I would expect that if you need to use this other field, the Office of Special Ed will probably contact you. All right, I think that's all of the special education changes. This is just a technical change, but in the student behavior and weapons reporting, it's just this location, which is just kind of the specific location or URL you find the data in Ed-Fi, has changed under our new Ed-Fi version. So it's something that your student information system vendors have to deal with. I doubt you guys would even notice this change. One thing they did in Ed-Fi this year is they've actually separated the perpetrator or offender from the non-offender location. In our old Ed-Fi system, you could report a perpetrator and a victim both in the same area, but it didn't make a lot of sense because the victim obviously doesn't have behaviors, doesn't have weapons, doesn't have arrest records. So the victim was just really there to be marked with the participation code of victim, and that was it. So now in Ed-Fi, they've separated those so that this non-offender reporting doesn't contain all the extra stuff that doesn't need to be there. Amanda asked about the Part C to B transition. Let's see here. Would that apply to home-based children turning 3 and staying on home base until the next fall when they attend preschool? As far as I know, this would still apply to them. I haven't been described that there's some special exception for the home-based Part C students. But I should confirm that with the special education office. So that would also be something that I think would be a good note. I can probably add to this document in our next version. So thank you. I will check on that. All right. Oh yeah, so anyway, this is really just a technical change. You don't really notice this. Another technical change that you probably won't matter to you. This is in the staff contacts data, which this is the data that is just used for collecting CRDC stuff. We have this section so you can submit to us who your civil rights coordinator is for, Title IX, Title VI. There was an other type here. We really had no use for the other type before, so we just got rid of it. Well, actually, I should say EdFi got rid of it, and we are following suit. So I don't expect that will affect anyone. So yeah, I believe that's all the changes I have for now. Yeah, you can see these are prior versions here. I also want to mention another 23-24 changes. You can already begin submitting your 23-24 students in Advisor Person ID, the student unique ID system. We actually opened that June 1st. That data is for non-publics, it's being used for direct cert matching. We may start using that for publics as well. Also, our course code website came out a few months ago, but just a reminder, you can go here to the course codes and clearing endorsements site, and there's also a tab here for changes, just like our appendix we're looking at. If he asked, when will we need to start reporting whether or not a student has submitted a FAFSA? I don't know what reporting you're talking about there. Is that a new requirement from something? I'm not familiar with that one. And when is the proposed release date of the exempt school list for 23-24? I don't have the date for that off the top of my head. I know they are actively working on a new system there. But I'm not really familiar with that. I would say probably the answer to both of these is stay tuned to the NDE bulletin. I'm sure the exempt school list will probably be mentioned in the bulletin.
I can jump in really quick, Max, just an update on that. They're still accepting applications from parents, so it probably won't be very soon, if that makes sense. So yeah. I know their big push was for a July 15th deadline for parents, so it'd probably be after that. I wouldn't expect it before August.
Yeah. If anyone has any more info about the student aid requirement, I don't know what that is. Anna asked, when will the new buildings be added to person ID? So that is probably something will happen in the next day or two. Again, we're working with late requests of districts that haven't got their CDC collection finalized, where they're setting up buildings for next year. Although we're primarily working with some non-publics that need to finish that. I think all the public districts have finished that. So I think we'll probably get that before the end of the week. And then at that point, the new building codes would automatically show up in person ID. Wayne asked a question about the 22-23 data. So if there were no errors June 30th, the data was published, and now there are errors. Do schools need to fix those? I would say possibly. So the errors that run on advisor validation are always, running off of the live data. But as a lot of the live data is still being collected as part of the follow-up collection, then essentially, yeah. So it, in the case of course data that's used for instructional reports, we're not going to lock that in until the end of the follow-up collection in October. So I would expect it to be something that could be corrected. Really, though, I mean, there's no good reason why people would be generating new errors in July. There may be something else going on with their student information system, I would think. Right. So that's all the updates that I have for 23-24 currently published. I also want to talk about some future plans a little bit. None of this has really been set in stone yet. We are just putting the plans together. But as I've mentioned in prior meetings, we do have we have a company that's helping us build out our EdFi or advisor servers in the Microsoft Azure cloud. So they have been working for several months getting that set up. They're very close to getting everything finished there. So tentatively, this is what it'll look like for districts. First of all, there is a new version of EdFi coming for 23-24. And as we always try to update the version of that EdFi backbone every 2 years. So this was the time to upgrade. As part of that, there will be a new URL. Typically, we've made a new URL every 2 years anyways. This newer URL will be in a Azure cloud format, so it'll look kind of different. But essentially, everything works the same. I was trying to describe this for each vendor off the top of my head. I'm not sure if I have this exactly right, but I believe generally that means for Power School districts, you will end up creating a new data exchange profile for the 23-24 version, where you will enter the new URL and set things up like usual. You will use the same key and secret you've used in the past. Nothing changes with the key. Infinite Campus, I believe the districts do set up the URL for each school year. So you will just, under 23-24, enter the new URL that we will distribute. The other student information systems, I think the vendor maybe sets that up. I'm not sure, maybe some of them districts also have to enter a URL for the year. But should be very standard process there. One thing that is going to be different though, as part of moving to the cloud servers, we are planning on picking up the 22-23 system the EdFi API and everything, and moving that over to the new servers. So the way this will work is that we will shut it down for a few days. At that point, no one's making any changes to anything in Advisor. So we can take that data, move all that over to the new server exactly, so everything looks the same, and open that back up. I know it's a headache, but I think this is probably the best way to do this from a technical standpoint. We want to make sure when we open up these new servers in 23-24 that the errors and reports and stuff can still talk to the latest 22-23 data that you are submitting. You know, there are some very important validation errors that look at the prior year versus the current year. So this means likely you will have to make an update to your 22-23 URL in your student information setup, just like I was talking about above, except you will edit your 22-23 connection to use the new system. This will be pretty obvious if you don't make that change. Any updates that you try to publish, if you don't have the new URL, will just fail. So there will be some extra steps this year, since we're doing kind of an exceptional upgrade, but none of this is necessarily set in stone. I'd like to write these instructions up in a more longer format once we are sure of what we're doing, as well as having the exact dates set up. So I will talk to you again about this, certainly at our August district webinar meeting. It'll come up again. And let's see, Anna and Greg confirmed that Nebsys and JMC set up the URL for their users. Patty had a question about some SPED students that need to get exit. Please submit that to the advisor help, the service desk. We can work through the specifics on those students. All right, sorry, went a little long, but that's it for me for this section. Next up, I'm going to hand this over to Lauren to talk about the summer benefits. Lauren, do you want me to go through the slides, or do you?
Either way is fine with me, whatever's easiest on your end. I can share my screen too if that works. Oh, perfect.
All right, take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, Max. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Christensen, and I am the Child Nutrition and Wellness Specialist with NDE Nutrition Services. And I joined the P-EBT team back in about February. So you've maybe seen some communication come through from my email here within the past couple of months. I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to join to share a brief P-EBT update today. And next slide, please. While we'll primarily be discussing summer 2023 P-EBT today, I also just want to touch a little bit on summer 2022 benefits, as well as school year 22-23 and the reconsideration process. And if you have any questions as we go through this, you can certainly add them to that Q&A box, and I'll do my very best to make sure that we get those addressed at the end here. So just real briefly, for summer 2022, we're still trying to wrap up those benefits. We are still accepting 2022 P-EBT, excuse me, summer 2022 P-EBT reconsiderations. So from time to time, you'll likely see an email from me, and that could be to request confirmation of student eligibility. I do want to point out that the time frame for accepting these reconsiderations is dwindling, as all benefits must be issued by September 30th of this year. So if a household would reach out to you to communicate address updates, guardian updates, try to get some information about their card status or additional qualifying students in relation to those P-EBT benefits, please go ahead and contact us right away, and we can work through that together to try to make sure that if that student or if that household is eligible for benefits, that those can be issued in the time frame necessary. And likewise, from time to time, it may also be necessary for us to reach out to verify address and guardian information as well too. All right, now next slide. Thanks, Max. Most of you are likely aware and submitted uploads for our school year 22-23 P-EBT plan that was approved by the USDA. I appreciate the diligence that you, in uploading those and helping us to identify not only eligible school buildings, but also the individual students, and to get that information into the portal in both May and June when those were due. The benefit levels, I just wanted to review real quick. Those are determined by the number of COVID-related absence days per month. And I did notice that there was an error in the Tier 1 benefit amount that was provided when Jenna Hilligoss presented in April. So just wanted to point that out, that benefit amount is actually $25 for Tier 1, not $35. And that would be for any student that incurred 6 days or less in a month of absences related to COVID. And you can also see Tier 2 and 3 benefits. Those remain the same at both $82 and $139 respectively. And you can also see the number of absence days per month that would warrant those tiers being issued in terms of benefit. All right, next slide. Yep. Most of you, again, this is all kind of done from your standpoint, but just wanted to recap that school food authorities were asked to submit school year 22-23 data for those eligible school buildings and for students by semester, with that fall data being due in May and spring semester data being due in June. And fall semester benefits were issued on June 22nd, and those spring semester benefits will be issued to households here coming up in about a month on August 15th. And I did want to note that we have received several reconsideration requests related to fall semester absences. And so I'll discuss that process a little bit further in a couple more slides, but once again, we may be reaching out to confirm eligibility and absence information when we receive those. Right. Moving on to summer 2023, which is, we do have a deadline coming up here that I'll talk about for that data. I do also want to point out just a couple of key differences between school year P-EBT and summer 2023 P-EBT, as well as previous summer P-EBT benefits. So the main thing here is that for summer P-EBT qualification requirements, that does differ from school year in the sense that there is not a COVID-related absence requirement. So all school food authorities really should be submitting a summer P-EBT upload or file because you all likely have students that meet the eligibility requirements, especially when we remove that COVID-related absence requirement. So for an individual student to qualify or become eligible for summer 2023 P-EBT benefits, they would have to qualify for free or reduced price meals sometime throughout school year 22-23. And that could be through either an approved meal benefit application or through direct certification, as well as if they're enrolled at a school that participates in the community eligibility provision, or CEP. So that's the first requirement. The second requirement is that that student must also have been enrolled at your school district on the final day of school year 22-23. So those are the two qualification requirements for summer 2023 benefits. I do want to point out that temporary carryover status cannot be utilized to meet the free or reduced price eligibility requirement. So that has to be through direct certification, that meal benefit application, or if they're enrolled at a CEP school. For the first two, that timeline is anytime from last July, when the DC system started generating student matches. And also that could have been a point in time when you started receiving meal benefit applications through the final day of the school year. So that is another main difference from previous summer P-EBT, specifically summer 2022. There was a summer coverage period. However, for summer 23 P-EBT, there is not a summer coverage period. So students have to have qualified for free or reduced price meals and that status during the school year. Another key difference is that there's a lower benefit amount than in previous years. So for summer 23, each qualifying student would receive a $120 benefit amount. And these benefits will be issued to households in the Omaha metro area on September 12th through the, September 12th, and all other remaining households would be issued benefits on September 14th. Right. We do ask that school food authorities or SFAs successfully upload a single file containing all qualifying students to the P-EBT data collection in the NDE portal by July 28th, 2023. We strongly encourage you do that sooner if you haven't already done so. That just helps us make sure that there's no errors in those files, or if there are, that we have enough time to kind of come back to you and get those corrections made. So schools should upload the single file using the required template, and I'll add a link here in the chat to both the P-EBT file upload instructions as well as a link to the template. So 1 second, this goes through for everyone. And then just to note, this is the same template that you would use or that you would have utilized for school year P-EBT. The one difference though is that for each student entry, you need to indicate 0, type 0 under column P, which represents the days absent or remote from COVID. Again, there's not a COVID related absence requirement for summer P-EBT. So we need that to reflect 0. If you leave it blank, it will generate an error and we'll have to come back to you and ask for a new upload. So make sure that that gets added in, and then just upload that under the summer 2023 dropdown in the NDE portal. And again, please ensure that that's uploaded on or before July 28th. And yep, next slide, there we go. So we know that school year P-EBT ended as of May 11th when the public health emergency ended. However, summer P-EBT will transition to summer EBT, and that will become a permanent nationwide program beginning in summer 2024. Eligibility requirements and issuance amounts are not yet known, but you can certainly expect communication from our office once those details are determined. And if you have any feedback or best practices related to compiling and submitting summer data, feel free to share that with us. We're always looking for ways that we can better support these efforts. And just in general, if you have any feedback on this process, you can reach out to us and we can certainly chat through that. And then lastly, I just want to talk about the reconsideration process. Many of you are likely familiar with this, having done this multiple rounds, but essentially a household can submit a reconsideration form to DHHS if they believe that their student or students were eligible for benefits, but perhaps did not receive them, or maybe they didn't receive the correct amount, the benefit amount. DHHS then contacts us at NDE and shares details from that reconsideration form. And then we're tasked with reaching out with school districts to confirm student eligibility. And also if it's related to school year P-EBT, verifying school building eligibility and student absences. And then once we get this information, we relay that to DHHS, who then notifies the household of the determination and issues benefit if applicable. So as I mentioned earlier, we are still currently accepting reconsideration requests for summer 2022. And we've also seen a number of reconsideration requests for fall school year 22-23 P-EBT. So when we're emailing schools, we try to differentiate and provide all pertinent information regarding the eligibility criteria, since that does differ between summer and school year slightly. Additionally, sometimes we reach out to verify guardianship and address changes. Like I said, some of you, if not most of you, have maybe encountered an email from me regarding these reconsiderations, and I just really want to thank you for your time and assistance in that process. It helps us to facilitate that quicker when you respond to those in a timely fashion. And again, just want to reiterate that with those summer 2023 P-EBT uploads, please, do your best to provide complete files with as accurate of student information as you can provide. That is going to help us meet that deadline of September 30th to ensure that all benefits are issued by that time frame. So, and I just once again want to thank you for helping to identify eligible students and helping to facilitate the P-EBT benefit issuances. If there's questions, I don't see any currently in the Q&A, but if there's questions that come up after the fact, you can certainly reach out to me via my email address shown on this slide. If there are any questions, I'll stick around here for a bit, but I appreciate your time and I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Next, I'm going to talk about our district contact information app real quick. This is a new application that NDE is working on that we are hoping to open soon. It's not quite ready yet. Technically, this replaced a very old portal collection that I'm not sure if everyone's even that familiar with. But this is something in the NDE portal. It's called the District Contact Information App, or DCI. This is the old app. It only has two things in it right now: curriculum and safety contacts. And by the looks of it, it's probably about 15 years old. So here is the new app that we are working on. It will support multiple contact types, more than just the two in the old one. Some of the features you can see in the screenshot here. You can filter the list by name or contact area, such as in this example, we've got assessment and school administration. There may be more to come to that list in the future as well. You've got an add button and an export to Excel button, so you can take the list and export it. That's really for our use as much as for yours. We, at the NDE, we can see everyone's data, but generally you are only going to have access to one location when you are logged in. The contacts, different contact types like this ESU chief administrator, obviously just sample data. Here is linked to a location, which could be either a district office or a school building. And we're predicting this will be not only for public districts, but also probably ESUs, non-publics. I meant to say Rule 18 interim schools and possibly more. Here's another just focus in on the right side of the menu there that you can see before, where you'll see that there are some action buttons. First of all, this system is meant to be pretty simple. It's not meant to have as many steps to it as most of our like yearly collections work. Basically, any user in your district who has that portal code can enter any of the contact data. Probably most districts won't have more than 2 or 3 people in the system. However, some contact types, once entered by a district user, must be approved by the portal's district administrator to be considered finalized. This is a step such as the district assessment contact, which we're looking to put into the system. Typically is a form. It used to be a form that was signed by your district administrator. So instead, it'll be something that we can do electronically. You can see in my screenshot here, this is an entry that was entered but has not been approved yet, as you can see by the empty dates there. Some contact types could have multiple entries at a location, but most will only allow one at a time, like one superintendent at a district office or one principal at a school building. And like I said, this app is basically going to be available anytime year-round. It's not separated into school years. It doesn't have a specific open and closed due date. The idea is there might be times of the year where we're going to pull the data from the system, the latest of whatever's been approved and available. But we don't want to, we're open anytime year round. So like, and a lot of districts are going through this right now. As soon as you know who your new superintendent is and they've got an email address at your district, you can come in here and make that change. You don't have to wait until September to add that. A few more screenshots just to kind of give you an idea. On the left here is what you see if you hit add a contact and you're adding from scratch, versus if you hit the edit button in the line to edit an existing item. You'll be able to enter, the position, title, name, email, stuff like that. And then, you hit update or cancel. So a little info about the contact types. So here's what we're planning to include at launch. The safety and curriculum contact, just because those are part of the old app that we are replacing. Superintendent, chief administrator, principals. This is something that, districts right now do have to submit this data to us in staff reporting, where you submit that along with their experience and salary, stuff like that. That doesn't change, but this system is just kind of a lightweight way to tell us as soon as you have principal or superintendent changes. The plan is eventually for NDE to use this as our main point of contact whenever, our main contact list whenever we want to get, email superintendents or email principals. Also, assessment related contacts. This is a key driver of doing this here. I believe these were PDF forms before, or even paper maybe. So we're looking at converting those into this new system. That's the DAC, district contact, the TC, which is your test coordinator for ACT, as well as all of the NTAC, which I believe there's multiple of. That's your NSCAS technical assessment contact. I believe anyone who's familiar with the world of assessments is familiar with these roles, but we are just converting that into a new system. I hopefully, especially if I get some time to help test on this app, we are planning to release the application before the end of this month in July. When it does release, please keep an eye out on your NDE bulletin. That is where we will send you the news and include any instructions. There are several other contact types that we've identified as we've been kind of gathering ideas from other NDE offices. Some of the details are still being worked out for these, but I expect we could include them in the system easily in the future, in the near future, I should say. And that there may be more coming as well. It's still something that we're talking to some offices about, but here are the ones people have given me so far: Human Resources Director, Social Media Monitor. This one's brand new for everyone, the Behavioral Health Contact. That's something new that this LB 852 bill explicitly creates a requirement for. So I linked the bill there if you want to read that. Continuous Improvement Contact, as part of accreditation. Perkins, that's your career and tech ed contact. Intervention Project Manager. Rule 18 Educational Liaison. I've also heard maybe we should talk with our special ed office. They may have some of these as well. So I hope this will be the one central place for all this stuff in the future, and hopefully makes your life a little easier. But that's really all I had to share today on this. We will, if I need to go into some more details, I will definitely include it in a future webinar. But if you have any ideas for the new app, suggestions, please, put something in the Q&A window, or just send me an email, or send an email to the service desk, and we will take a look at that. But it's pretty straightforward app idea, so I don't expect it to be very complicated. All right, that's all I have. Naomi, did you want to? You had a few.
Yeah, a couple closing notes for everybody. Some exciting news here. We are going to have a live in-person data conference in 2024. It's a big, exciting thing. We want to get the dates in front of you so you can start getting them on your calendar. It's going to be in Kearney, April 16th and 17th. So we're pretty excited about it. A lot of you have asked for it, and we heard you, and we're going to start working on getting things organized. If you have ideas, things you want to see, please let us know. But more information coming on that soon. And then for next month's webinar, just kind of an update of what's coming. Max is going to do his advisor monthly update, and then I'll launch staff reporting for the 23-24 school year. We'll have some pre-recorded sessions for new data stewards and for the advisor person ID collection. So just, of course, as usual, keep an eye on those bulletins and the data webinar site. But I think the really exciting takeaway here is that we're going to have that live and in-person data webinar. So that's pretty exciting news. That's all I got.
Yep. And it is a different week than we usually do. And different days. We didn't get the usual. I think we used to do a 3-day time slot the last week of April. So it is a little bit different, but otherwise, so I expect to see a lot of you there.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
That's all we have for this month. Thanks for joining, everyone.